Good morning, everyone. How's it going? Happy build day, as you said, John. Awesome. Good to see you all. Yeah, this is going to be a super fun day, right? We have MS build coming up today, starting at, I guess, in just a couple of hours here on the East Coast. And we have it to do tomorrow, and I think there's also some sessions possibly on Thursday. Good morning, Jogi. How are you doing? How's everything going for everyone? I'm super excited, not only for this stream today, because this is something I've been wanting to do for actually quite a bit since starting looking at MLops. So I'm super excited to have you all on the line, and we can hopefully contribute together and find a good solution for this. It's going to be really fun. But first of all, I want to give a shout out to the virtual ML.net conference, next week. It's crazy that it went by so fast. We're literally just a week and a half away from the conference. Friday's going to be workshops with Bree and Louise. It's going to be super cool. And as you may have seen, we have also announced the speaker schedule and all the speakers. And we have speakers from 4 continents and 5 countries. I think that's pretty awesome. We have Will Valida from New Zealand. We have Jernay from Australia. We have Praveen, I think, from India. And we have, of course, Daniel, who's joined the stream multiple times from Europe. And then we have multiple people also from the US here. So it's going to be a really, really cool conference. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. It's going to be fun. Which session are you looking forward to the most? Which one do you think you will tune into and watch? And you too. I think this is definitely going to be a multi-series stream for MLOps. We are probably going to start looking at this today and then end up at the final solution probably a couple of weeks down the line. But I really think we have a gap here that we need to fill, and I'm surprised that no one's filled this gap, to be honest. I mentioned this gap for the program managers at Azure Machine Learning a couple of months ago, that we really wanted that functionality to manage the lifecycle of a model in .NET, and they understand the challenge we face, but it wasn't on their roadmap right now. And I don't think that it's going to be filled by anyone, so I think we should just fill it, right? We see an issue, we should try to solve it. So what I wanted to start with today is by switching to my talk screen, making sure we got some nice music. Great question. So it's going to complement my GitHub Actions talk. So let's, I think that's a great segue into kind of talking about what we're going to do today and why we're going to do it. Great question on the chat here. So if you look at what we did before here, for those who have joined this stream before, we started this review predictor project, right? And the reason why we did that was so we could create this GitHub Actions to completely automate the deployment of our model from scratch, right? So we did some things like building the model, training the model, running data tests against the model. We created a Docker image with the model embedded into an ASP.NET Core Web API, and we pushed that to a registry and deployed it to Azure. So we have all those components, right, of kind of building a model and training it and doing it in automated fashion, so that when someone changes the code for building the model or they change the data, we can trigger a new build directly, right? And that's pretty awesome. But the issue we're running into right now, and the issue we're trying to solve, is that if you look at this this YAML code here, the GitHub Actions, one thing we still don't have is some kind of validation on how good is this model compared to what's currently in production. Good morning, Luis. How are you doing? Glad to have you on the stream this morning. I'm happy I can kind of push this stream into before MS Build as well. Fortunate to do that. So we want to be able to somewhere register a model and have that metadata and metrics somewhere. And like, think about it like this. Would you ever develop code today, no matter what language you're doing it in? Would you do that without source control? I don't think so, right? We all are used to using Git, we use TFS maybe, or something else, but we use source control to have an idea of what we want to do here. And just like we wouldn't not use source control, we also need somewhere to source control our models. And also with that source control, keep some metrics on the data, right? So the thing what we want to do here is really track the training of a model and make decisions whether it's good enough to be pushed or not, right? So you may think like this, okay, well, that sounds like something someone would already have thought of, right? Someone should already have done this. This can't be very novel, it can't be very new. What we basically want to build here is a model management tool. And you're correct. There are other companies that have built this. For example, if you look at MLflow here, that I kind of tweeted about on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, MLflow is one of the, I guess, the leading ones for managing your machine learning lifecycle. And I think it's owned by Databricks, or it's at least integrated with Databricks. And with this, you can start experiments and start runs and track metrics and all good. And if you look at some of the documentation here, and we can look at the REST API here. Things you can do here is, of course, create an experiment. So, for example, what that would be an experiment would be our review predictor, for example. It would be one machine learning model. And for each experiment, so one model, you can create a run. So that could be a training run, right, in GitHub Actions. And when you do your run, you can then log metrics here. So you can log how good it is, the accuracy, the F1 score, those kind of things. And then if you're happy with what you got, you can log an artifact, which is more or less the model itself. And then the tool itself can then keep track of the model in the model registry and link those things to the metadata, the metrics. And then you can kind of register the model in the production ready scenarios and deploy it through MLflow. So it's really cool. I mean, it's an awesome tool, super useful. But the deficit here and the limitation is that we can only use model registration for Python models. You can do all the other things just like you would in Python for like logging the run and experiments, but you can't register the model because it assumes it's like a Flask API or a Python model of some sort. Does that make sense so far? So what I've, for example, done here, just to kind of drill this point in here. Morning, Daniel. Good to have you on the stream today. So what I did here is I've created an Azure Databricks service in Azure, just to show where we could use it in Azure if you wanted to. So Databricks comes, or MLflow comes with Databricks more or less. And we can see here that if we go to Workspace, and we don't need to know too much about Databricks here, it's kind of overcourse, but if we go to Databricks here, we can go to my user and we can go to an experiment I have created. And this experiment is kind of lined up with this GitHub Actions flow here for the review predictor we did before, which makes sense, right? So what I can do here is I can, for each run I do, I can track these metrics. So we can use a REST API to make outbound calls to track F1 score and accuracy and all those kind of things here. It's just key value pairs, so it doesn't really matter what we do here. But we can use the REST API. But the limitation here is that we can't again track the ML.zip model, and we can't register the model here, like in this model registry. That's right here. So we can't take any advantage of the staging and production or we can't make a call to this service to say, okay, I have this model, it has an accuracy of 90%. Is this accuracy better than what I currently have in production? Yes or no? Like, we can't really do that because we can't register the models in production here, because it needs to be a scikit-learn model, TensorFlow model, Keras, or anything of those Python equivalents. So I was thinking about this for quite a while, and I was like, yeah, we can either go into MLflow, so we can go to the MLflow GitHub repo if you wanted to, right? And we can start contributing here and say, hey, you say that you support all machine learning libraries and frameworks, but you don't. Can you please add this, and let's contribute and add it to it? So that would be one scenario, right? But this is going to be in Python. If we kind of crank this in there, I think we're going to really break some of the ideas here for MLflow. Because ML.NET has so many more deployment scenarios than MLflow supports right now, I think it will be a bit difficult. Because we want to deploy it to like a Docker container, web API, desktop app, potentially like Xamarin app as soon as we get ARM support, right? So I don't think they will really like us going in here and messing around with the code. So what do? We build our own, right? And I'm really excited about building our own here. Who's excited? Good. Wish I could hear your voices. I would hear the excitement. I'm envisioning right now that you're super excited. Alright, so let's think about that a bit. So what I want to do here, just to kind of recap. Thanks, Lise. What I want to do here is I want to build a minimal viable product for us. So as simple as possible that we can track these things. And yes, Daniel, we're doing it on core, of course. So I want to track the minimal stuff. I don't want to rebuild all of MLflow. We don't have time for that, and we don't really need all of it, honestly. We just want something simple that we can use in our scenarios. So if we look at the current review predictor code, let's first think about how we would like to use it, and then let's think about how we want to architect it. And then third, let's think about the name, because the name is important. So start thinking about names already, because you will be once here deciding what this is going to be called. If you have any name suggestions already, kind of drop them in the chat directly, and we'll get them going. But what I am envisioning here, and I've been thinking about it for a little bit, so I will walk you through what I'm hoping I would do here. And I'll walk you through in a way that makes sense with comments here. Okay. Yes, sorry about that. I have to fit my stream into normal work life, right? Unfortunately, I'm doing this outside of work hours, but I would love to just do this all the time, because this is so much fun. And yes, naming is the hardest. So the kind of funny thing is that actually, if you look at naming, because I was like, okay, well that's easy. What we're going to do is we'll name it MLflow.net, right? That's a good name. Unfortunately, there's already something called MLflow.net, and it's just a wrapper around MLflow. It is it's like you can kind of have those SDK bindings, but it doesn't implement anything behind the scenes. It is 10 a.m. in the morning for me, so I'm just having my second cup of coffee here. So MLflow.net is already taken, so we can't really do that, and it doesn't really do what we want anyway, because all it does is allows us to call MLflow directly from that. MLstream, okay. Yeah, I like that. Could be something. Something I've been thinking about is MLtrack for tracking. Alright, so let's say we have this tool already. What do we want to do? Well, I'm thinking the first thing we would like to do here is call this tool to create experiment, right? So we want, if it doesn't exist already, we want to create an experiment. And this could be called like review predictor. So this would be like if not exist, create an experiment for me. Or maybe we'll do that outside of the tool. And then we will call create a run. So this will be specific for this training scenario. So create a run, we will pass in a GUID, or it will create a GUID for us. And it will just link things together, right? So when we run this GitHub Actions, it would kind of have something to associate those metrics with. And once we do that, we can let it do all its things here. We can let it load the data, transform the data, train the data, all those things, right? And once we go to evaluate here, we want to then here do log metrics or something like that, just like you do in MLflow, if that makes sense. So we will pass in, so what I'm thinking here is like just passing in the metrics object here. What we could do is passing key value pairs. That's probably easier, but I want to make it like native to ML.NET. And let's see if we can go in here. I think these are probably probably a base class of some sort. So we could think about passing in the different overloads here. So we can just pass in, like if you're doing binary classification, let's pass in one of those objects, and we'll automatically just take everything from this and put it into the storage. Just make it very native and nice for the library. And then finally, what we need to have here as well is be able to do a check here, right? So check is current model better than production model, or something like that. So we would, for example, say get me the model that's currently registered and label as deployed, or something like that. And then you have to, of course, decide which metric do you want to care about. Like, do you care about F1 score, or do you care about accuracy? So we'll need some kind of way of doing that. And then you say, okay, is this better than production or not? And if it's better than production, we also need some kind of way of storing it, right? So right now what we're doing is saving it on the drive here. And that may be all good and well, right? We can still keep doing that. But what I'd like to do here is log artifact, or let's call like save model in as artifact. I think if we can have those methods done, I think we're way on our way. And honestly, I think what we can skip right now is this check here. Like, we can even skip that. I just want to be able to create an experiment, create a run, create log metrics, and then save the model. If we can get those things done, I think we have a good MVP that we can keep building on. Is there anything anyone on the stream today wants to add as well, like something you see that we would love to have that I missed here? Your input is most valued, dear crowd, because you're going to help me build this. Alright, that's a good start. Training time, okay, I like that. That's a good one. So that could probably be like a metrics, right? We can do it as a key value pair. So we can have that as an overload. Yeah, cross-validation. Do you think that's different than the metrics though? I think log metrics, and maybe we'll just say log key value pairs. So we can, by doing that, we can kind of have our own overload for validation, cross-validation, and also for training time, for example. You can say training time and then the time value. We can definitely capture those things there. That would be awesome, actually. That's a great idea. One thing we also probably want to add at some point here is the data. So maybe you want to add some kind of reference to where the data was taken from, or a snapshot or something like that. Cool. All right. So let's think about the structure here. How do you want to architect this mammoth? When I was thinking about this last night, what I was thinking about was, I'm going to call this ML track right now, but this is not the final name, but just give you an idea here. What I was thinking of doing is like have a client library. Let's see if I can do this a bit bigger. So I was thinking we could have a client library and eventually down the line we can have a web library. And when I say library, what I want to do here is I want to create a NuGet package that we can import in our console applications when we train the model, and that's going to be used to track these things as an experiment and a run and all those fun things, right? So how are we going to back this data? We need some way to store both the models, and we need some way to store the metadata. I have some suggestions, but I do want to hear your thoughts because I think I'm a little bit biased here. If you want to store something let's say the relationships with the metadata, and you want to store the model somewhere, how would you do it? Shout out ideas. All right. Yeah, that's a good one. For example, SQLite, for example, would be a great idea. That's something we could definitely do. Something I'm thinking of doing here is leveraging Azure. Just taking use of Azure for this. So I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. What I'm thinking of doing first here is exposing two different ways. Yes, graph-based would be cool too, and that may be something you want to kind of explore. I'm not an expert in graph databases, so I'm going to kind of stay away from that right now, but I definitely see that that's going to be useful for this, so we may want to explore that later. But I was thinking of doing for now is storing the metadata in a storage account in Azure. And if we have a look at a storage account in Azure, we can do two things here. We have blob storage, right? And we have table storage, which is a NoSQL storage entity. And the reason why I'm thinking about doing it this way is because it's very cheap and it's very easy, I think. So like table storage is super cheap. If we want to, we can kind of spin it out to Cosmos DB. It doesn't need to be very complicated. Exactly, Luis. Yeah, exactly. We need something like an interface here in between here, because the second thing we want here, yep, is some kind of local file provider, right? I'll call it local file provider. So as you kind of pointed out and alluded to, Luis, we need to be able to do this locally as well, and we need to be able to kind of just say, okay, I don't want to use GitHub Actions and I don't want to use Azure, but I want to kind of store it locally. So we would need to be able to say, okay, what kind of storage mode do we want? Do we want to like provide a file share for our models and maybe a SQLite database or something else for metadata? Or maybe we just want to say, okay, can you just give me a database and I'll create tables for it in there? That could be pretty cool. So I think we definitely want to kind of explore this local path as well. And eventually, once we, conquer the world and we are like, this is the biggest and best library in the world for managing life cycles, right? We could use an AWS S3 bucket as well. If companies are using AWS for their cloud solutions, we could do that instead. So there's multiple ways here, but of course we need some kind of interface here to make sure we can store these metadata in different places, right? But what I want to do first is explore this storage account solution, because I think that's going to be, it's going to solve the problems we are having right now with the review predictor, and that's what I want us to solve first, to create this minimal viable product. And when we have solved that problem, we can then continue kind of expanding ourselves into different things, right? Does that make sense? And once we've kind of done this client library, awesome, we can then create some other NuGet package or whatever, a web service. Maybe, for example, like a Blazor app or something like that, something in .NET Core that just can read the storage accounts we're using and visualize the data for us, and also maybe build on top some kind of deployment scenarios Maybe you want to expose these things and thing. Am I transparent in my stream today? Yeah. Oh yes, sorry. I like that. Yes, I have a green screen behind me, but I have not the best lighting, so I'm like a genie in a bottle. You can see through me. It's the special effects. So maybe Blaze Wrap would be cool here and read the storage data, maybe something else, and we can kind of use that to read the data, visualize it, and deploy it. Again, like maybe you want to just store the models in the registry, and then you want to fetch it for your deployments, or maybe you want to reference that storage account directly, like to, let's say you deploy a web API, and you want to load a new model on change. So that's something you may want to do, and that should be pretty cool as well. So we'll see. All right, excuse me. So I think I've talked enough about how I want to do this. I think what we can try to do is try to create this and see how far we get today, if that makes sense. I think what we can start by doing here is, let's do a quick Word document, and I know it's not the most fun thing to do here, but it's a good way to like just set ourselves up for success here by writing down what we want to do here. So we want to create a SDK package, NuGet package, that does what? Well, it should takes connection string to storage account, and we also need to take maybe storage type or something like that, right? So local or Azure or something else. Pretty cool stuff. And then what we want to do, so actions for now, let's see what we can create is create experiment, create run, log metrics, and log model. I think if we can get those methods jotted down, we are in a good shape. Cool. So let's do it, right? I will say directly that I have very limited knowledge on how to use a storage account in Azure programmatically, but I think we'll figure that out pretty easily. So we'll go ahead and start. Actually, before we start here, we have a very important question. What are we going to call this tool here? I have heard MLstream.net. I've heard MLtrack. What other suggestions do we have here for names here? You're the lucky few here that can decide the name for us. I'm going to give you a minute to think about this. So MLflow.net is taken, so we can't use that. That's going to be out of bounds. MLab. Okay. So, John, doesn't that sound a bit less superior? MLab. Let me think of that a bit. MLab. MLwave, maybe? Or is it too close to flow? MLflux. Okay. MLflux. That's a kind of fun name. Okay. MLflux. So what are we trying to imply with flux? Trying to say that ML motion. I like that. Move. So I guess no one likes ML track here. ML glide. That's a good name. All good names. Does it entail what it's doing? I guess MLflow doesn't really do that neither, honestly. ML drift. Okay, I like that. ML drift. Does one understand easily what it's doing? ML stream. I think stream for me makes me think too much about streaming in general, so I don't think. But I like the move one and I like the motion one a lot. They're both good names. ML motion. Because motion to me indicates that we're moving the model around and we're doing something with it, which makes sense. What about MLBoss? Maybe MLRush. Naming is hard. Ooh. Yeah, I think we have a winner. MLops.net. That is very clear what it's doing. That is very clear. How many does people like MLops.net? I mean, I think you're all giving them fantastic names, but MLops.net, I think that's a really good one. I think I have to decide on that one. At least that's a really good name. All right, we're going to go for that. For now. All right, so we'll do a class library, .NET Standard. Let's try to do this against .NET Standard so we can use it in both framework apps and in core apps. So we make sure we support everything that ML.NET supports, right? Yeah, we have MLOps as a domain, right? Thanks, Luis. But I guess MLOps is not synonym with .NET, so I kind of like that we're playing on the term MLOps, because MLOps is like it's like saying DevOps, of course, right? But we're kind of already just taking that term directly. Yeah, so MLOps is it's a mix between machine learning and DevOps in some ways. So machine learning operations. It's also called like CD4ML, like continuous delivery for machine learning. But I like that we are using it for this. All right, so let's do class library. Can I do this? All right. If I could buy you a beer, Lise, I would buy you a beer. I'll buy you a virtual beer. It's a great name. All right. So let's create it in repos here for now. That's a fantastic name. Wow. MLPsycho is very good too. Let's see how it goes. And yeah, I'm very transparent today. Can't see through my cup. Well, you can at least hear me. That's important, right? All right. So let's see. So one thing, what I want to do here is how many like on the line or how many on the stream today has created their own NuGet package and kind of imported it into their solutions? I definitely hadn't before today, so I kind of wanted to do that real quick, but we can kind of create initial stuff here. Because I think what we need here is some kind of folder for... Cool. Nice, so maybe you're all well versed in this, but I actually haven't created a NuGet package before, so it's going to be fun to do this. So what I want to do here, or let's call setup maybe. We probably need a setup class, right? Of some sort. And again, this is going to be refactored multiple times, but I want to create something simple. Actually, we probably don't need a setup class. We probably don't need that. We probably just keep it simple here. So I think what we're going to do is create one object that we're going to use throughout the whole training session, right? So we can call it something fun here. Yeah, thanks Lise for that. So do you want to call it ML Manager or something like that? Because we have ML context for ML.NET. I'm going to call it ML Lifecycle Manager, because I think that's useful. We can rename this later. But what I'm thinking about here is that we're going to have a couple of methods. Nope, not like that. But we're going to have, let's build a skeleton here. We're going to have a method for create experiment. Right? And this one can return a GUI maybe, for now. Which is going to be the and we'll fill out the things later. But that will create an experiment basically in the storage account, right? And we will then need something for like create run. So maybe we'll do create run here, and we'll pass in experiment ID here, maybe, I don't know, experiment ID. I'm just brainstorming here. Let me know if you think that's wrong. And then what I'm thinking of here is doing log metrics, and this command could be like a key value pair here, and it could be string, and I think we probably want float, but because otherwise there's no metrics. But we may want to change that up a bit here. We can also do string actually, and like that we're just going to capture all in case you want to do something else than just metrics. Okay, so that should do something here, right? Yeah, or object, yeah. Yeah, let's think about that a little bit, just leave it for now. And what we could do then is the final method we want to do here is log model, maybe. Let's call it log model, and we'll pass in a model eventually here, because we definitely need to reference MLnet, I think, as part of this one here. So we see our model is a transformer, right? So I think what we want to do here is pass in iTransformer. Let's think of that one a bit later, I think. So something like this would be good, right? Or we can do these things here. And what we want to do first is we probably want to have a constructor here that takes some kind of connection information to storage account. And I think we have to refactor this once we go along here. Yes, definitely, yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to just pass in the connection string right now, and we have to do some overloads here and refactor these things here. But we will say connection string, and this is going to be our storage account connection string. Cool. So to get our hands working here and kind of figure out how we're going to do this, let's do some tries here. Let's try to see if we can create a table. Let's see if we can use table storage and create a table that's called experiment that keeps some kind of basic information. And once we do that, let's see if we can build this NuGet package and import it in the other solution and run it and see if we actually create an experiment. I think that'd be like a first, like, just try to make sure that we are on the right track on how to work with this, and from there we can refactor and do some really cool stuff here. So I think I created a storage account yesterday for this purpose. Let's see if I have it here. I think I called it ML management. Really bad name. So I'm going to go over here. Actually, it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to get the storage account info right now. But we see here that we have containers, we have file shares, we have tables. So what I'm thinking of is we store our models in a container for the model registry, like an artifacts container, and then we store the metadata in just tables because they're very cheap. And we can create tables here, but I'm envisioning that the app or the SDK will create tables itself. So instead of us doing it like manually, like if someone wants to use this for us, or like someone wants to download this NuGet package and do it, all they need to do is create a storage account, empty one, and then provide a connection string, and the tool will do all the heavy lifting after that, right? I think that's the easiest way of doing it. So I am curious though, table storage Azure C#. So let's see if we can figure out the API here. I think there is SDK you can download here. Exactly, yeah. One step ahead of you, Luis. But you are on top of it. Exactly, so I think we can use this SDK here to do this, and I think it's this one. So I think from what I understand, Cosmos DB is like the underlying foundation for table storage, the NoSQL version. So let's go ahead and install this library here. And we'll have our dependency. Actually, let's do it here. We'll get that going. Pull that one down. And if you're new to the stream today, and if you just started watching, definitely hit the follow button and follow me if you like. I'm only 11 away from 50, which is a magical limit to affiliate. I would really appreciate that. Okay, we got that one going. So I'm not sure if we need a rest right now. Let's see. Okay. I think we need all of these, I guess, so let's do those as well. And for those who are wondering, of course it's going to be completely open source. So we'll go ahead and create repo for this as well. I want to share this with everyone, because I would envision that we will all have some challenges for this and some use cases where this will be useful to have. So this is going to be an open repo. Plus, I would love your help as well building it out. If you have something you want to contribute to it, or just in general want to have a look at it. Okay, I think we're one final library away, and then we're good to go. And install package. So what kind of build sessions are you going to join today? Does anyone have any favorites they're going to jump into? Okay. So let's see here. So what we're going to do here, it looks like we need to put this in the app settings. Oh really? That's nice. When is that, John? Sounds like a fun session. Client storage count. Okay, I think we actually don't want here is, I don't think we actually want it in the settings file, because we're going to pass it in instead. But we can definitely kind of copy this one, I think, and see, because what it's doing is creating a storage count reference, I guess. And from that we can do some fun stuff, I assume. Yep, this is how we're going to use it. And then we can create a table. Awesome. So let's see here. Let's create another class here. And then we'll clean up the references. Let's call this maybe storage count provider or something. We'll have to rename this stuff later, because it's not going to be pretty. We'll do this internal sealed, as this is going to be a library that's exposed to people. And let's copy paste some stuff here. Let's do this method right here. No need to reinvent the wheel when we don't have to. So we'll pass in a storage account connection string. We should be able to get this one done. Perfect. And we'll kind of just use this one here. That sounds good. So we can put this in. Okay. Just so you know, guys, this is one of the most fun things I do every week. Stream with you guys, play around with some fun stuff, and just kind of get a, you know, some time and a break for some really fun stuff that I'm really passionate about, and I'm so happy to share those with you. It's always a pleasure. All right, so we should be able to do now is actually just do, instead of storing the connection string and write this, what we can do is store the storage account itself. So storage account, and we'll do that new storage account provider, and we'll just do and don't kill me for poor C# right now. Okay, create. Oh, it's appearing not public, I think. Public static. Why is? Oh, it's static first of all. But still, it's because it's internal, and I should be able to read that. Come on. Okay. Connection string passing in there. Nice. So we are going to reseal this one. Clean up a little bit. Nice. Alright, so by doing this, we should be able to have a reference to the storage account. So now we should be able to create our tables and do kind of fun stuff here. So if you look at the documentation, we want to create this table client thingy here, right? And then we want to create the experiment table if it doesn't exist. So I'm just going to copy this over right now and figure out where to put these things later. I'm going to call this create experiment table, and we can make all these things a lot more generic once we understand the structure of things here. I'm a big advocate for getting it working first and then cleaning it up with unit test, and well, unit test should be first, but just making sure we get somewhere here. All right. And the table client needs to get in here as well. So we'll pass in a storage account. We actually don't need to do that. Right. I'll just do that. And we will. So what we want to do here, we want to create a storage account here. You don't test often, but when I do, I make sure it's in production. That's interesting. Sure, let's do that. All right, so we're getting a table here. So it's going to create it if it doesn't exist. And it's going to tell us if it's created or not, which is fine. And we don't really need that logging. It's going to be more than we need. So we're just going to say, okay, please create if not exist. It's a sync, so we'll put it as sync. We'll return a task for now. And we are going to remove some comments because I think it should be self-explanatory. And for now, we'll just do experiment. And the fun thing, of course, since it's not SQL, okay, it's no SQL here, we don't need to worry about the structure too much of these tables. So we can just kind of go free form here and do some stuff here. And the table is a cloud table. Let's return a cloud table. So what we do here is table and create experiment table. Actually, let's do this. It's already too verbose here. Let's just do this. Create table, string table name. Make it a little bit cleaner at least. Okay. and we'll get a reference here to it, and we'll call this experiment. Nice. So now we have a reference to the table. What can we do with table? Well, we want to insert something here, right? If it doesn't exist. So we have to define an entity, I'm sure, and kind of put it in there, I guess. So in our case, it's going to be a table entity, and we want it to be an experiment. So let's create a separate class for that. And let's call these, let's put this in a folder at least, because this is probably going to be lasting. Entities, we'll call this class experiment. Experiment, hopefully that spells correctly. And we'll do that as an internal field class. What we want here at least is a unique identifier, right? Ooh, GUID. We definitely want an ID, and I'll just put a GUID here for that. We also probably want the name, right? So in our case it would be a review predictor. And let's start with that. Anything else you think we should have on the experiment directly that you can think of? I think that's a good start at least. Oh, this coffee is cold after an hour. Yeah, list of runs I think is good. I think what we can do is build it out as we go, Luis. So let's, yeah, history as well. List of runs. I guess we can build it out directly if you wanted to. I was thinking we could. Why not actually? Let's do that. Let's build out a structure here. It makes sense. So you said list of runs first, please, and then you said history. So let's create an entity called a run, and experiment name, yeah. But let's build this run out. So run, for example, would also have a GUID, and it will be ID, I guess. And let's wait for that right now. We would have table entity from Cosmos here, and experiment here then would have a list of runs, right? A list of run, or something like that. Okay, and I think what we also want here at least is probably some kind of date time for run date, maybe. And user 2, you said yes. Thank you. That's what you meant. Experiment name. Thank you for catching that. That was definitely a typo. Hey Ravi, how's it going? Good to have you on the stream today. So for those who tune in on Saturday, me and Ravi, we did our first episode in like our machine learning for .NET developers series, and we'll continue that on Saturday. And Ravi is learning how to write a binary classifier from scratch, so that'd be fun to look at later. All right. So we have experiment, we have run. I will actually join build later today, but I will have to do some work as well for my client, so probably not too much. But that's the best part of being a Microsoft MVP, is that on the MVP Summit you kind of get most of the build announcements already. So that's the fun part. But it's some really exciting stuff, so you should definitely tune in to build. Alright, so we do now have a table reference, and what we want to do is, okay, partition key, row key, probably should do this. We want to create an experiment, that's what we want to do here. Let's see, first name as row key. We probably want to have an overload here, right? For this as well. So let's do that real quick here. Let's put something up here. Oop. Let's create a constructor. Public experiment. And I think what we'll do here is we'll just have a simple ID that we create ourselves for ID. But we can definitely pass in the experiment name here. So we'll say that the partition key is... What is the partition key, honestly? Yeah, we'll put it like this. We'll do partition key table entity. That could be GUID, new GUID, and we'll do this. Oh, it needs to be a string? Okay, well that's fun. Go away. Well, we can just, I guess we can just call this, should this be a string too? Cool, has MLflow started already? That's awesome. String. Okay, I want this to be the same, so I'll do this for now. Cool. Well, I appreciate everyone being on the line still. That shows your love. Thank you. Row key can be experiment name. Okay. Makes sense, Louise. So it's a partition for all your data. So you think that we should have the experiment name, I guess, as a partition key? That probably makes more sense than the ID, right? I think that makes more sense, at least. I'm interpreting what you're saying. Is this a string as well? Yeah. And yeah, okay. We'll do this at least. I think this makes more sense at least to do this. So okay, so we have this, and I want to keep going so we get to fun stuff here. So we have that set up. So now we want to create an experiment. So we could do here is insert or merge. So an experiment has a name, I guess. So we want to pass in an experiment name here. And what we'll do is we'll create a new experiment. Experiment. And we'll pass in the experiment name. And by doing that, we're going to get an ID automatically. So I think what we want to do here at least is return new experiment ID. And the question is if you want to keep this as a string or not. I'm going to say that I actually want this to be a GUID. I don't like the fact that it's not. And we'll just have to deal with this like this. That's better for me. Makes me more, gives me more joy. Alright, so we want to do something here, and let's not look at the documentation here, but we could definitely do that. That's a great suggestion. I wanted to kind of keep it as simple as possible, so I think we should we could wait for that if you want to, or we can do it now, I guess. I think the operation we'll use here is insert or merge, and the question is, do we want it? I think we want to. What we want to do is actually in this operation we want to merge it if it already exists. So that's fine, I think, actually. But that's a good observation. Thank you for that. So we'll have a table operation here, and we'll pass in our new experiments. And do we need to also issue commit or something like that? Execute async, I guess. Okay, perfect. So we'll do that, and it's going to be inserted experiment, and we have to do this as a sync method, which is great. Thank you for that. And it doesn't contain a definition for it. Why is that? Cloud table. Am I missing a reference here? Insert a merge operation, okay. Is this an other version? Start. Thanks, please. Have a great day. Alright, so why don't we have on the cloud table here? So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to figure out the cloud table, and that's probably because we don't not awaiting the results. Alright, so what we're gonna do here is execute a sync here and insert this in there, and then we want the result as experiment, and that should be all we need to do, honestly. Cool. Alright, so I'm not sure if we honestly need to do this, but that's fine. We'll pass this back instead. Sounds good. Okay, we're closing into something exciting now. So in theory right now, we should be able to do this, and we should be able to get something working. So let's build this NuGet package. Let's import it into the other machine learning console application, and let's execute this and see if we actually can get this running. And before this, I want to remove some packages that we definitely don't need, and it's all of these. I think we only need the Cosmos SDK here. Let's build this to make sure it builds. MS build. Sorry, it's a build day. You're allowed to do bad jokes for MS build. Alright, so if you right click on this one, we can define some properties for our NuGet package here and make sure that's lined up properly. So if you look at package here, let's call this version 01, because it's definitely like a pre-release version. Authors, put my name there for now. And of course we're gonna buy this domain, right guys? No one can buy it before me, thank you. And we will do that. So that's gonna define things we need. So if we, yeah, that's fine, authors. If we go ahead and right click on this and click pack here, what's gonna happen is that we're going to package this NuGet package, build it and package it together. And it's gonna output our package for us. So we see here that we have our package here, and it's going to be in this folder right here. Let me get that folder up, and let's grab that package and let's open up a local repository. So if I go, I'll get this over here so you can see. We have this NuGet package that we have created. So our first initial release, 0.1 here. And what we can do is we can put it in a local repository. And I already have that, and I'll show you how to set it up. But I have a folder that I called C NuGet here. And we can kind of copy this over right here. So the way you do a NuGet package locally is that you define a folder for it. And then when you want to import it, you have to go to Tools and Options. And we can search for NuGet here. Package sources, and you have to define a local resource. So it's just a plus sign, you define the directory where you have your NuGet package, and you are good to go. And by doing that, you're going to have an other source for NuGet, so you can pull these things down. So in our case here, what we want to do is we want to go into our review predictor trainer, and we want to go manage NuGet packages, and we want to go on local source, right? And hopefully find something here. There we go. So we have our NuGet package right here, MLops.net, that we just created. Latest stable version is 0.1. We can see that we compile it to the .NET standard, which is great, and the dependency we are currently having is on the Azure Cosmos Table SDK. So that makes all sense to us. It's great. It's so fast to create a NuGet package. When I looked at this last night, because I haven't done it before, and I was just blown away how simple it was. I always kind of thought that creating a NuGet package is this hard, tough thing, and it's a lot of configuration, and it's actually so simple. It got me really inspired to do more of these things. So that's nice. So what we're going ahead and do here is install this locally, and what we want to do here is, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pass in my connection string in as an argument. So I want to fetch that here because we need the storage account connection string. Remember that. And I will do that in a bit. But what we'll do is just say 0 here. That's going to be our connection string, if that makes sense. And following that, I want to create this ML live cycle manager. And remember, we had that from a NuGet package. So now when we have referenced the package, we should be able to do ML model life cycle. And we'll see here we can use it from our package. Alright, Ravi, see you later. Enjoy build, guys, and if you want to go to the build sessions, I completely understand. That's once a year time for sure. Actually, myself, I may start jumping off pretty soon, but I want to see if we can get this working real quick here. So we're passing in the connection string here to the ML lifecycle manager, which is great. So what we should be able to do now is call this create experiment thing, and we can call it review predictor, and that should be able to give us experiment ID. And in the future we can even pass back the whole experiment. Honestly, that should also be fine here. So if I go ahead on this other screen here and put in the connection string, let me do that. Sorry guys, I'm gonna do that on a second screen here. And we can then try this and see if we actually create a table or not. That's what I'm curious about here. So let me get the connection string here real quick. Where's that? In Azure. Overview. Access keys. Connection string. And I'll put that in. Not put it in there. Almost there, bear with me. So what I'm doing is I'm going and right clicking on the project, and I'm putting that as an argument into my console application here. So when I run it, it's going to use that. Okay, I'll close that, and I will go back here so we can all see what I'm doing. So let's run this and see if something is starting up here or not. So if I do run here now, let's see if we are getting lucky or not here. So what I'm hoping is that we are going to create a table in this table storage. Okay, let's see, F10 here, please don't blow up. Okay, so we did create something, and if I do this, is it blowing up? Okay, that's interesting. Did we actually await this, by the way? We create experiments, await table. Okay, that's interesting that. Oh, we're not doing that actually. If you want to do this, we have to await it. So otherwise, it's a task, right? Can we do this? Maybe. All right. I think we can't do that in the main method, right? So we have to figure out a better idea here. What's the syntax for this? Is it dot result? I think. Oh, we can? So you're saying that if I do this and do a threading task. Oh, nice. Okay. Thanks, Daniel. I'm not a big fan of the result one because it gives a lot of deadlocks, so this is awesome. All right, let's try that. That was a great point, Daniel. Thank you. So we should definitely rename this one, and let me do that real quick before I forget it. It should be called async, otherwise we'll forget that again, like I did now. But let's kick this off and see if we are getting something back. Okay, so if we let that run, hopefully it's not gonna blow up. We'll get an ID back, that's good. So let's go and look at Azure here and see if we have anything in this table. I will go away from my keys and I will share the screen here. So if this succeeded, we should have something in the table here. We have an experiment. Wow, look at that. Can I view this one? Apparently I can't view this one. I guess I have to look up how you view these things. But that's fantastic, guys. Hopefully it's not public. Okay, good. All right, so make a selfie. That is awesome, guys. I mean, I think I'm going to stop the stream today actually right now because I know build is running and I want you all to enjoy build as well. But it's pretty cool. I mean, we haven't really done much machine learning today, but we have written a simple NuGet package so far to create an experiment table. And I'm sure if we figure out a way to look into this table, we will see that we have data in it. And actually, let's look if we can use the Storage Explorer here. Here we go. Perfect. So we see here that we can use the Storage Explorer, look into our table, and we have some fun stuff. Cool. Thank you, Daniel, and everyone on the line today. I appreciate that you've been sticking with me so long. I hope you are excited as I am for this series to go on. We'll continue to build this, and I'll make sure we put it on GitHub so we can all share and work on it together. All right, enjoy your build sessions, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Until then, thank you, guys.